Okay, we're going to do some fresco work. We're going to try this out. We're going to see what we can do with all of our modern stuff. And we're going to use the very, very old techniques and see what we can do with it. I have plaster of Paris. I bought it at Walmart the other night. Comes in little bags like this. We're going to use one bag and we're going to divide it between two trays. I have very fine charcoal powder that I used a rubber mallet to smash into place, and we're gonna use some of that. I've made some of that into paint, and I've made some of it I've left some of it alone. I have spinach leaves that I added a little water to, and I put them in the blender and ground them up really small, and I'll put some straight spinach leaves on some plaster. I don't know, it sounds bizarre, doesn't it? And then I made paint out of the black by using an egg yolk binder. All right, so here's my egg yolk. We had egg white omelets for breakfast this morning, and I used all the yolks to make some paint. So I've got plain black, and then I've got this green that I made with the spinach. Also with the egg yolk, it's kind of a yellow green because it's not, it's mixed with the egg yolk. So I also have a spoon, a pair of scissors, some water, and we're gonna get going. I have taken a bag of plaster of Paris and I've divided it between these two trays, and I've added water to it and mixed them up so that they're pretty smooth. Right now they're kind of thick, like, I don't know, pudding-ish kind of stuff. This one's relatively solidified already. Plaster of Paris sets up very, very quickly. So what I'm going to do here with this one here, I'm going to start with this one because it's a little bit drier at this point. It's still got a sheen of water on the surface, but I'm going to go ahead and just get started on it. Like I said before, the early people who were using this technique, ancient Egyptians, they had all kinds of tools that they were using to get things into very fine areas. I'm just using my fingers. So I'm going to do a border, a black border around the edge. I'm just taking straight pigment, which is the ground up charcoal, and I'm putting it around the edge. And it's just absorbing right into the plaster and coloring the plaster. My fingers are nice and black. That's why I'm outside, because this is kind of a messier process than a lot of things I've been showing you. Alright, so there's that. Let's see, how about a couple of stripes going out of the center? We'll do a little radiating design with our art from nature. Now, I do know that I can take another tool and I can push aside the stuff that I don't like, and I can narrow these lines a little bit. Okay, so now I've got I've got 8 bands coming out of the center, see? Like that. Now I'm going to take my little bit of spinach that I have left. I'm going to make that my center focal point, and just press that in right like that. Now I've got a radiating design. Now there are a lot of things you can do with plaster like this that I've done with other students in the past, where you can put seashells and all kinds of objects into the plaster. You can write in the plaster. You can do all kinds of things with it. It's a very, very fun art tool. I'm wiping the damp plaster off of my spoon so it doesn't stick to it. And I'm just going to take my spoon and I'm going to slide the excess off into the edges so that it looks a little bit plainer in the middle, I guess. A little bit neater. Yeah. This is not working. I think I'll stop while I'm ahead. Okay, so this is the earliest technique with plaster. This is putting straight pigment into wet plaster. You can see it's still wet, things are still sliding around. I'm going to let that sit. All right, this plaster is much more solidified now. It still has a bit of wetness on the surface and a little bit of water dripping around, but I'm going to go ahead and get started on it. So I'm going to take my black, and I've got a bowl of water to clean my brushes with, and I'm going to start with a peace sign, just because, I don't know, I feel like what the world needs right now is some peace. So I'm just painting this. This is the stuff with the binder. I'm going very lightly on the surface because this is still soft enough that my brush could make an impression in the surface, and I don't really want it to. I want just the pigment to go into the surface. I don't want the brush to make a line or a furrow. Alright, there's my circle. Spreading just a little bit because it's still a little bit wet, but it's mostly just staying in place. It's kind of good. Okay, even this out over here. Okay, now a peace sign has a straight line right down the middle. And then it has a triangle at the bottom like that. Okay, so there's your basic peace sign shape. Alright, now we'll add some green to this, make it more interesting and dynamic. There are still chunks of green leaves, spinach leaves in here, so I'm trying to get this, use this paint so that I'm not spreading spinach leaves on the surface. But I'm going to start painting this surface with this green paint so that this pigment can all just absorb in. This charcoal black is really a rich black. It's pretty awesome. If you want a good deep black, charcoal will give it to you. The paint goes on very thin, kind of like watercolor does, and it will probably need more than one coat of paint, but you can see when you're working with temperate paint this way instead of out of the big jugs like we do at school, how Botticelli could have gotten all of that beautiful transparent detail in his paintings working with temperate paint, because it's not the same kind of temperate paint we use in school for sure. It's much, much thinner, much more translucent. It's kind of nice where the plaster is a little bit drier. It really just stays right where I put it. It's not spreading. Where it's wetter, it spreads a little bit, and so I'm trying to avoid the wetter areas. And I'm doing it very, very lightly on the surface. I'm trying very hard not to end up with little grooves and furrows where the brush hits. And this is a pretty firm brush, and maybe a softer brush would be a better thing to use on this. I wasn't really thinking that through when I picked my brush. But I'm getting some pretty rich color here when I put my second coat on. And I'll be able to see it. I might be able to see some of it from here, but I'll tilt it up in a minute. My neighbors are getting ready to go out somewhere. Okay, so that's pretty cool. And like I say, it soaks in pretty quickly, so even though the paint is wet, once it's soaked in, it's not going to drip. I'll be able to tilt this up and show it to you in just a very short moment. Okay, so there we go. There's my peace sign with green paint, alla fresco method, with our spinach paint and our charcoal paint. That's pretty fun.